I'm Susan Harrow, media coach and marketing strategist, and today I was scheduled to be on the O'Reilly Factor, and it got canceled at the last minute due to breaking news. I was going to be on the show to discuss what Sarah Palin does right and what she does wrong.
What strikes you most about Sarah Palin's speaking style, Susan?
She really has two personas, the hockey mom and the pit bull. And she uses different body language for each of them. For the hockey mom, she uses the prayer motion, almost like a supplicant, like she's getting in touch with the Pope or the Dalai Lama. When she uses her pit bull persona, she uses her fist. And sometimes that's accompanied by a little bit of a nose twitch or the pit bull snarl. You can almost hear her going, "Oh," when she wants to make an aggressive point or when she's talking about her opponents.
What did Sarah Palin do well during her acceptance speech?
She created really great rapport with the audience, and how she did that was discussing family first. She talked about how all great families are alike and how they're also different. And then she talked about what it meant to have a special needs child, and that required special love. She transitioned then into discussing her son going to Iraq on September 11th. She created great rapport with her audience regarding family values.
And what do you think she could have done better?
That was regarding her opponents. When she compared herself when she said, I was the mayor of a small town, what does that have in common with being a community organizer? The mayor had actually had some responsibilities. She spoke with disdain, disgust, and her tone was sarcastic. What I would recommend that she do differently is lose the sarcasm, gain the respect. When you talk about your opponents, you can disagree with them respectfully. And for body language wise, I would have her not use the aggressive fist and the pit bull snarl.
During Palin's interview with Charlie Gibson, what do you think went positively for her?
She created really great rapport with her supplicant pose, and she had a lot of fun with Charlie, so there was a great ease between them. What she didn't do very well was when she was asked any kind of question which she didn't know the answer, she stuttered. Number one, whenever she got off track, so she hadn't had her answers planned, and I would have suggested that she planned more of her answers and had some really great stories that she could transition into no matter what Charlie asked her.
For example?
Well, during the Bush Doctrine question, that was pretty dramatic. What happened then was Sarah Palin sort of reared back. She was completely taken off guard. And then when the camera panned into her face was sort of had this shocked look, and she started smiling sheepishly. She tried to use a by-time question after she had reared back. When Charlie said, "What do you think about the Bush Doctrine?" She asked about what part. She was trying to buy time, but that didn't work. Charlie instantly recognized she had no idea what the Bush Doctrine was. He let her bumble around a little bit with what she thought the Bush Doctrine was, and then he actually explained it to her. And obviously she couldn't answer that question because she had no idea what the doctrine was or how to prepare for that question. What I recommend in that instance is that when she doesn't know, don't pretend like you do know. Actually say, "Charlie, I don't know about that. There's a lot of things I still have to learn about this government, but what I do know is," and then and then immediately move into territory that she's comfortable with, that really shows what some of her opinions are, what are some of the actual reforms that she's planning with to actually implement. And have a few of those really down solid, 1, 2, 3.
And how did Sarah Palin, do you think, present herself in a positive way during that interview?
I think she did present herself very positively. And where she did well was to really create that kind of rapport with Charlie. What she did during that Bush Doctrine segment again is when she was lost, she fell back on her rapport skills, which are very high. And during that little segment, when they were talking about the Bush Doctrine, she actually used his name and said Charlie 4 times. What she was doing is trying to create that rapport back because the rapport had been lost during this sort of uncomfortable session. And another thing that happens when you call out somebody's name is that they get a little bit off their agenda. When I say, Charlie, you immediately sort of have a little startle. Now, Charlie Gibson is very experienced, so he didn't get off agenda.
And what do you think overall of her, the image that she's projected?
Sarah Palin comes across as being a little bit, they've kind of grannied her up. And that's with the glasses and her bouffant hairdo. And I think that appeals to the older crowd. It's a little old-fashioned, it's a little 60s. And the granny makes her a little bit more approachable, not a hottie. And then she wears really boxy clothes. Like, just take a look at me, the difference what happens when I put on these glasses and I change my jacket to be a little more prim and proper. And I think Sarah Palin can be as much of a woman as she is and go more feminine with a more tightly fitted clothes, and also lose the glasses. The glasses are a barrier to your audience. And I think that she doesn't have to worry so much about being perceived as a hottie.
How successful do you think she will be in this campaign?
That's a great question, because ever since the 1960s Gallup poll, the #1 quality that we look for in a president is likability. Every single president who has won an election has rated the highest possible in the likability area. That is an area where it relates to brain and emotion. It's an emotional response. The other 2 areas that we judge a candidate on are both issues and their party affiliation. Those are both logical and are not reliable predictors of winning an election. So what's fascinating about Sarah Palin is she's got a very high likability factor, and it'll be interesting to see how that plays out in the election. I'm Susan Harrow, media coach and marketing strategist, talking about the great things and the not so great things that Sarah Palin has done. I'm at prsecrets.com.
Thank you, Susan.